Once upon a time, in the busy city of Chicago, there lived a young woman named Emma. She was kind, gentle, and had dreams of becoming a writer. But on one cold winter morning, she found herself standing in a place she never imagined, at her own wedding, marrying a man she barely knew. The church was filled with flowers. Guests smiled. Cameras flashed. But Emma's heart felt heavy. Her hands were cold. Her lips formed a small smile. But deep inside, she felt nothing. No love. No joy. Just silence. The man standing beside her was Daniel Carter. He was a rich businessman. He looked perfect in his black suit. Tall, calm, confident. But his eyes were cold. Not angry, not cruel, just empty, as if he was hiding something behind that perfect face. Emma's father had arranged this marriage. He said, "Daniel is the best man for you. He will take care of you. Love is not everything in a marriage." Emma wanted to scream, "But I want to be loved." But she said nothing. She obeyed. As the priest spoke, Emma looked at Daniel. He looked back. There was no smile, no softness, just silence between them. "You may now kiss the bride," the priest said. Daniel leaned in and kissed Emma's cheek. The kiss was soft but cold, like touching ice. The guests clapped. The music played. The moment passed. That night, in a big, silent house on the edge of the city, Emma sat alone in her new bedroom. Daniel had his own room, down the hall. He said it was better this way. "We both need space," he told her. Emma looked around. Everything was beautiful. Expensive furniture, soft lights, golden curtains. But it did not feel like home. It felt like a hotel. Cold, empty. She walked to the window and looked out at the city lights. Her eyes filled with tears. "What have I done?" she whispered to herself. Suddenly, she heard a soft sound, a door closing somewhere in the house. She turned. "Daniel?" she called. No answer. She walked down the hallway. All the lights were off except one, a small lamp in the living room. Daniel was sitting there, reading something. Emma stood quietly for a moment. Then she asked, "Are you happy with this marriage?" Daniel looked up, surprised. He paused, then said, "It is not about happiness, Emma. It is about duty." She felt her chest tighten. "But I do not even know you," she said. He looked at her for a long time, then said, "And I do not know you." Emma walked back to her room, feeling more alone than ever. That night, she could not sleep. She stared at the ceiling, wondering, how can two strangers live as husband and wife? Can a marriage without love ever work? Her eyes stayed open long into the night. And in that silent room, filled with gold and luxury, Emma made a promise to herself. She would find the truth about Daniel, no matter what it cost, because something did not feel right. Emma woke up early. The sun was rising over the city, casting a soft orange glow through the tall windows. But the warmth of the morning did not reach her heart. The silence in the house was heavy, like a secret waiting to be told. She stepped out of her room and walked down the hallway. Everything was quiet. She passed Daniel's room. The door was closed. She paused for a moment, then walked on. She made herself a cup of tea in the shiny, modern kitchen. As she sipped it slowly, her eyes wandered across the room. Everything looked perfect, but something felt wrong. She could not explain it, but the house felt too clean, too silent, too controlled. Later that morning, Daniel came downstairs in his usual black suit. His hair was perfectly combed. Not a single thing was out of place. "Good morning," Emma said softly. Daniel nodded. "Good morning." They sat at the table. Emma tried to speak. "So what do you do at work?" she asked, hoping to start a real conversation. "I manage investments. I have meetings." "It is a busy job," he answered quickly without looking up. Emma waited, but he said nothing more. She wanted to ask, "Why did you marry me? What do you want from me?" But she stayed quiet. After breakfast, Daniel grabbed his keys. "I will be late tonight," he said. "Where are you going?" she asked. He looked at her for a second and said, "Business. Do not wait up." He left. Emma stood in the hallway, staring at the door. Then she walked around the house. The rooms were beautiful, but cold. Every painting was straight. Every book was in place. It felt like no one really lived there. As she walked down the hallway again, something caught her eye. A door she had not noticed before. It was at the end of the hall. The door was small, dark, and locked. She tried the handle. It did not move. "Why is this room locked?" she thought. She knocked lightly. No sound came from inside. She leaned closer and listened. Nothing. Just silence. Emma stepped back, her heart beating faster. Why would a door be locked in her own house? She looked for a key, but found none. The rest of the day, she could not stop thinking about that door. What was behind it? A storage room? An office? Or something else? That evening, Daniel came home. Emma watched him carefully. She waited until after dinner, then asked, "What is in the locked room?" Daniel's fork froze midair. His eyes met hers. "That room is private," he said sharply. Emma's voice shook. "But I live here too. I think I have the right to know." Daniel stood up. "Do not ask questions about things that do not concern you," he said, and walked away. Emma sat alone at the table, her hands shaking. She had never seen him angry before. His voice was still calm, but his eyes had turned cold, like ice. That night, Emma could not sleep again. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. What is Daniel hiding? Why is that room locked? And why does this house feel like a place full of secrets? She closed her eyes, but her mind stayed awake. One thought would not leave her. What if I am living with a man I do not really know at all? The next few days were strange. Emma tried to keep her thoughts busy, but no matter what she did, the locked door kept haunting her mind. Every time she passed it, she felt a shiver run down her spine. That morning, after Daniel had left for work, Emma could no longer ignore her curiosity. She had to know what was behind that door. She had to find a way to open it. She searched the house from top to bottom. Every drawer, every cabinet, every corner was examined carefully, but she could not find anything useful. The door remained a mystery, just as it had been before. As she walked past the living room, something caught her eye. A small, old box on the bookshelf. It was hidden behind a few books, almost as if someone had tried to make it invisible. Her heart raced. She reached for the box and pulled it down. It was a heavy, antique box with strange symbols carved on its sides. She ran her fingers over the markings, wondering what they meant. It looked old, too old to just be a decoration. She opened the box, and inside, she found a small, brass key. It looked old, like it had been used for many years. Her breath caught in her throat. Could this be the key to the locked room? Without wasting a second, Emma rushed down the hallway to the mysterious door. Her hand trembled as she inserted the key into the lock. It clicked. The door opened. A rush of cold air hit her face. It was dark inside. Emma hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. Should she go in? What was waiting for her behind the door? She stepped inside. The room was smaller than she had expected. There were no windows, just an old wooden desk, and a large bookshelf filled with dusty books. But there was something off about the room. It felt wrong. The air was thick, and the shadows seemed to move on their own. Emma walked over to the desk and opened the drawers. Papers, old letters, and photos were scattered inside. But one photo stood out. It was a picture of Daniel. He was much younger in the photo, standing next to a woman Emma did not recognize. They were holding hands, both smiling at the camera. The woman's eyes were wide, almost too wide. It was unsettling, like she was hiding something. Emma's fingers shook as she held the photo in her hands. She had never seen this woman before, and yet the woman looked familiar. The way she smiled, the way her eyes stared into the camera, it felt like she had seen her before. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed from behind Emma. She spun around. The door slammed shut. She rushed to open it, but it wouldn't budge. Panic rose in her chest. She was trapped inside the room. The cold air grew colder. The shadows seemed to grow darker, and Emma could feel something watching her. She looked around frantically, and then, in the far corner of the room, she saw something that made her blood run cold. A mirror, a tall, antique mirror, with ornate carvings around its frame. But the reflection in the mirror wasn't hers. It was the woman from the photo. Her eyes were locked on Emma's, but her lips didn't move. It was as if she was speaking to Emma without saying a word. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Was she imagining things? Or was this woman somehow connected to Daniel? She stumbled back from the mirror, her heart pounding in her chest. What was going on? What was Daniel hiding? Why did this room feel like a place where time stood still, where the past and present collided? She needed answers, but she also knew one thing for sure. She would not leave this room until she found the truth. She had to uncover the secrets Daniel had hidden from her. Emma sat on the cold floor, her heart racing, her mind spinning with questions. She couldn't understand what was happening, what Daniel was hiding from her. The mirror in front of her seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy, almost as if it was alive. The woman's eyes in the reflection locked onto hers with an intensity that made Emma's skin crawl. The air around her grew colder, and she could feel the weight of the room pressing in on her. It felt like the walls were closing in, trapping her with the mirror, with the reflection of that strange woman. Was this a nightmare, or was she uncovering something far darker than she could have ever imagined? Taking a deep breath, Emma stood up, her legs shaky. She had to keep it together. There had to be an explanation for all of this. But deep down, she knew that whatever she was about to discover would change everything. She walked toward the mirror, her footsteps echoing in the silence of the room. As she got closer, she reached out, her hand trembling as it hovered near the glass. The reflection of the woman didn't move. It just stared, those wide, unblinking eyes following her every movement. With a surge of courage, Emma touched the glass. As soon as her fingers made contact, the temperature in the room dropped even further. She jerked her hand back in shock, But something strange happened. The woman in the mirror suddenly moved. She stepped closer, her reflection now inches away from Emma's own. Emma gasped, stumbling back. The woman's lips parted, and Emma's heart skipped a beat as she heard her voice. Soft, almost a whisper, but clear as day. "You should not have come here," the woman said, her voice echoing around the room. "You do not know what you have uncovered." Emma's breath caught in her throat. Her heart pounded louder in her ears. What was happening? Who was this woman? And why was she in the mirror? The reflection of the woman seemed to grin, but it wasn't a comforting smile. It was cold and unsettling, like she was mocking Emma. The woman leaned closer to the glass, and Emma could almost feel her breath on her skin, even though she was still standing in front of the mirror. "Daniel is not who you think he is," the woman continued, her voice growing darker. "He has always known. He has always been a part of this, a part of the darkness you've walked into." Emma's mind raced. Daniel? What was this woman talking about? He had always been kind to her, loving even. How could he be a part of whatever was happening here? His family, the woman said, her eyes narrowing. They have been keeping secrets for generations. They have been hiding the truth from everyone, especially you. The woman's voice grew colder with every word. "You cannot stop what has already started. The door has been opened, and now it is too late. You should have never gone through it." Emma's mind whirled. What door? What had she unlocked? Why was the woman warning her? She stepped back, her pulse racing. "What do you want from me?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The woman in the mirror didn't respond immediately. Instead, she simply smiled, a twisted, knowing smile that made Emma's blood run cold. "You are the key," the woman said, finally. "You are the only one who can finish this. But be warned, once you step beyond the veil, there is no going back." Emma's head was spinning. She wanted to run, to get away from the mirror, from the room, from everything. But something in her gut told her she couldn't leave without getting answers. She had come too far. She had already uncovered too much. Suddenly, the room went dark. The mirror seemed to swallow up the light, the shadows around Emma growing deeper and more menacing. She could feel something watching her, something behind her in the darkness. She turned quickly, her breath hitching in her throat. In the corner of the room stood a shadowy figure, a tall, dark silhouette. She couldn't make out its features, but she knew, she could feel, that it was not human. The air around her thickened, becoming suffocating. "You've opened the door," the figure said, its voice a deep, chilling whisper. "And now, the price must be paid." Emma's heart skipped a beat. What did that mean? What price? Before she could react, the figure stepped forward, its presence overwhelming. She was trapped. There was nowhere to run. The door had been opened, and Emma realized too late that she had no idea what kind of darkness she had unleashed. Emma stood frozen in terror, unable to move, unable to speak. The shadowy figure before her towered over her, its form barely visible in the dark, yet its presence was suffocating. The room felt colder, and the air became thick with an eerie silence that made her chest tighten. The figure took another step toward her, its footsteps echoing like distant thunder in the stillness. Emma's heart raced wildly in her chest. She had no idea what was happening, what had gone so wrong. She thought she could handle the strange things that had been happening, but this was different. This was beyond anything she could have ever imagined. What do you want from me?" Emma whispered, her voice shaking. She could feel the weight of its gaze upon her, even though she could not see its eyes. The figure did not respond at first. Instead, it extended its long skeletal hand toward her, its fingers like tendrils of darkness. Emma's eyes widened as she took a step back, her mind scrambling for any way to escape. But the room had changed. The walls had closed in, and she realized with a sinking feeling that she was trapped. "You have opened the door, Emma," the figure said, its voice deep and hollow, like the sound of wind howling through a desolate, empty place. "Now you must make a choice." Emma's legs felt weak beneath her. Her breathing was shallow, her mind clouded with confusion and fear. What choice? What was the figure talking about? How had she gotten herself into this mess? The figure's voice echoed in her mind again. "Daniel's family. They have been hiding the truth for generations. They are not what they appear. Neither is he." The words hit Emma like a slap to the face. What did that mean? She had always trusted Daniel. He had always been there for her, supporting her when things seemed impossible. How could he be part of this darkness? How could his family have been hiding something this dangerous for so long? "Make the choice," the figure said again, its voice growing colder. "You can walk away, forget everything, and go back to your life, but you will never be safe. The door will always be open. The darkness will always follow you." Emma's mind was spinning. Her chest tightened, and she could feel the pressure building around her. Her thoughts were clouded with fear, but deep down, she knew the truth. She couldn't just walk away. She had already stepped into this world. There was no going back. The figure raised its hand slowly, and the room seemed to shift again. Emma's surroundings began to blur, the shadows growing thicker, like they were alive, creeping closer toward her. Her heart raced faster, and she suddenly felt the weight of everything she had learned, everything she had uncovered. The truth was terrifying. Daniel, the man she had loved and trusted, had been hiding something from her all along. His family's secrets, the darkness that ran through their blood, had all been hidden from her, from everyone, and now she was caught in the middle of it, unable to escape. "You are the key," the figure repeated, its voice now an icy whisper. "You have the power to end this, to close the door forever, but it will come at a price." Emma's stomach twisted. A price? What price? She wasn't ready for this. She wasn't prepared for what she had to do. But she knew, deep down, that she couldn't walk away. Not now. Not when everything was hanging by a thread. The figure seemed to sense her hesitation. "You will have to sacrifice something. Someone. A life for a life. That is the price." Emma's eyes widened. "No, I can't. I won't hurt anyone," she protested, her voice trembling. She didn't understand. She had never wanted this. She had never wanted to be part of this nightmare. "You already have," the figure replied. "You've already stepped into the darkness. Now you must choose." Emma took a shaky breath, her mind racing. She had never imagined her life would lead her here, to this moment, where everything she believed was being tested. Daniel, the family secrets, the mirror, everything had been leading to this choice. She closed her eyes for a moment, trying to steady her racing thoughts. She couldn't do this alone. She needed help, but who could she turn to? Who could she trust? She thought of Daniel, his face, his touch. She couldn't betray him. But how could she live with herself knowing that she had no other choice? The figure stood, silently, waiting for her decision. The room had grown colder still, the silence deafening. Emma felt as though the weight of the world was on her shoulders. The choice was hers.